It's the season 2 premiere.
Yep.
Take 2. Guys, we literally forgot to start recording. What? We've been gone for 2 months and we already forgot how to handle the equipment, I guess. But y'all, we're back. It's been a long time and I miss you guys so much. And I was just telling my lovely guest over here, I didn't realize how much I missed this podcast until I hit him up. So with that being said, who's here right now?
Yeah. Well, hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. My name is Tim Woodworth. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I just moved to Florida from Hawaii though. I lived there for 2 years. I was a full-time missionary out there and it's been incredible. And it's an honor to be here today.
Yeah. This is Tim, y'all. Tim and Kim. He's literally Tim is literally amazing. But we do have a special new little surprise. Today we're at Jermaine's.
I love this place.
Dude, this place is so surreal. Good.
If y'all don't know what Jermaine's is, it's like I'm going to say it. It's the best chicken sandwich in Gainesville.
No, I was literally about to. Yes.
Great. Cool. We're on the same page.
There's not.
It's so good.
Dude, I love Jermaine's. But yeah, we're at Jermaine's. They have decided to host us. They've been incredible with us. Yeah. Last minute too. Like we literally just figured this out yesterday. And so they let us record the podcast here, which is crazy. Like we're at a chicken shop. It smells like chicken and ranch fries. Yeah, I just had one. It's probably yours.
So unapologetic about it. It's so good. I ordered one. They walked in and I was still eating. I was like, hey guys, what's up?
Okay, so Tim.
Yeah.
Who are you and why should we be listening to you?
Well, I'm just a guy. But here's the thing. The Lord has brought me through a crazy life. A very crazy life. And almost all of it was not my plan. And so, when I was, if we're going to get, are you asking like my testimony or are you asking like?
The questions are really open. I don't even know what I'm asking.
Cool.
I just ask.
Well, okay. So let's just get into like, who's Tim? Like when I was I grew up in Southern California and parents got divorced.
SoCal.
Like 5th grade. Right. And so I'm Filipino. So my mom was Filipino. My dad is just a white guy. And here I am.
Asian?
Yeah.
But you don't look Asian though.
I don't look Asian. I just look Asian. And so when people ask me like, I'm Filipino, but anyways, like, my parents got divorced. I moved to Seattle and I moved in with like my Filipino aunts and my uncle and like loved them. And I was forced to go to this like Catholic church type deal. And I didn't want to go. I was forced to go, didn't want to go. But then they were like, you'll get a heavenly father. And I was like, oh, I want that because I don't have an earthly father. So like my dad, he like wasn't a part of the scene anymore. It was just me, my mom, and my sister. So I remember just like, okay, yeah, I'll go, and I did all the things that you're supposed to do as a good Catholic boy. I did the communion. It's called sacraments. It's like classes you have to take, and hear my heart. I'm not here to like dog on the Catholic Church or anything like that. It's just, for me, it just didn't work out. Like for first communion, all the sacraments, I got confirmed and it was great. I was in a healthy community, it wasn't bad, but at the end of it, nothing happened. I didn't feel like I was any closer to God. I never heard the phrase, Jesus loves me. I never heard those things. And so I just dove back into whatever was offered to me at the time, whatever was available, I could like grab.
Well, what was that?
It was like, so I moved to Washington and my cousins were in a gang. As much as a gang.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like
You've
truly.
never told me about this.
Am I allowed to talk about this on the podcast? So here's the thing. They're in a gang as much as you can be in a gang as an 8th grader can be.
Oh, okay.
Right. So like they were bloods, but as much as an 8th grader can be, like, what can we really do? So lots of street fights, drugs, skateboarding. So I was around that culture. And so I kind of just embraced it. I was like, yeah, those are my people, so I kind of just dove into it and I was around it, but I never engaged in it because I was too afraid of my Filipino mom. No, because here's the thing, Kim. It'd be like that because I'm a bad liar. Because I was around alcohol, I was around drugs. I never did them, not because of my own convictions, but because, again, I was too scared of my Filipino mom. I was afraid to get the chancla. If y'all don't know what a chancla is.
Dude, they call it the chancla too in Philippines.
Slipper. Well, they say slipper.
Chancla, slipper.
But if I say chancla, more people resonate, right? So it's the slipper. Do you want the slipper? And I'm like, I don't want it. So like, I just never engaged, you know? And it got to the point where it became so unhealthy being around that crowd. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then my mom forced me to go to this new church. It's my home church in Seattle. And, like, sorry, long story, but like,
no,
I ended up,
we're here for it.
Well, I ended up going and I was forced to go, and I didn't want to go. But I sat in this church gathering, and this is my pastor. His name's Wes. He's awesome. He was speaking, and he made me laugh. I learned about Jesus, and I felt like I had a community. That was crazy. It was day one at the teacher, but I was still stubborn, right? I was stuck in my Catholic ways, and like, again, not that it's a bad thing. It's just for me, you know, I have strong opinions about that, but for me, it like didn't work. And but my mom was like, "You're going to go to youth," and I was like, "I don't want to go to youth." And
it always happens at youth.
Ended up at youth because my mom told me I was going to go, so she forced me to go to youth group. So if there's anybody listening, if your mom forced you to go to youth group, praise God for your mom, you know. So like, I was forced to go. And so I went, and there's people there that I went to school with that wanted to be my friends. And they were like, "Hey, yeah, you should come to winter camp." Like there's this girl, she said, "Come to winter camp." And I was like, "I don't want to go." Remember, I'm from Southern California, so I didn't want to go. I was like, "No, it sounds dumb. You know, it sounds cold and weird, you know?" And she was like, "No, you don't get it. There's going to be pizza." Yeah. I was like, "Well, there's going to be pizza and there's going to be girls." And so I was like, okay, where do I sign up? Right. And so I signed up, and I remember I went to this camp expecting pizza and girls, which, yeah, there were pizza and there were girls. But what ended up happening is like, through a series of events that like I should not have partaken. Like we hopped fences. We were at places we weren't supposed to be. We ended up in a pool. I wasn't supposed to be there. I was in this pool, and no lifeguard on duty. We're in this hotel pool, not supposed to be there, swimming. And I come up out of the water, and something just strikes me right in my nose.
What?
Like straight up in my nose. I'm like, and I like look, there's like pink. Obviously my nose is bleeding. So I swim to the side. My nose is bleeding profusely. And it's the life rings at pools.
Yeah.
They're hard as a rock. They're not soft and nice. They're just like very, like, the life rings that like a lifeguard will throw at you.
Yeah.
They're not soft. Hit me right in my nose. And this guy, he runs up to me. His name's Ben, great friend of mine. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry, And what the point of the story is, like, my walls, the walls of my heart kind of just like went down. I made a friend, and it was through a really funny experience. We went to dinner, ate sloppy joes in a hot tub, and then we went to this gathering, right? So this is like this crazy turn of events. I'm a freshman in high school now, and I'm at this camp. This guy broke my nose. I ate sloppy joes in a hot tub with him, and now him and I are sitting in a gathering together. And I hear the song "How He Loves" by David Crowder, and just like, but we've heard that song like over and over, and it's getting so annoying listening to the song over and over again. People raising their hands. I don't know what that means. But finally, like, it took a third gathering for me to finally, like, I don't know what happened. The Holy Spirit just hit me. And I started to understand, like, the preacher was talking about a God who loved me. And I didn't know what that was, because, like, remember, my dad left. I was like trying to grab onto whatever I could. But here you are, this man preaching at me, telling me that there's a God that loves me so much that he would pursue me, die for me, feel a very human feeling of jealousy to me about the things that, like, I put my attention towards that aren't him. I just fell on my knees, said yes. Like, literally said yes to Jesus right there.
Wow.
And then the rest of my high school career, I remember I served on the kids dance team. It was the very first place I ever, VBS, like, that's where I was. I was at kids camp. I was dancing.
You don't hear about kids dance teams that much.
You don't hear about the kids dance teams, but listen, they matter. Straight up. If you're on a kids dance team, you matter. Okay. Like, because here's the thing, like, when you start to serve, like, people tell me, like, I was a youth pastor. I had students come up to me and they're like, "Hey, I want to go deeper in my faith." And so then I'm like, okay, great. Are you serving? And like, if the answer was no, I'm like, okay, let's get you plugged in somewhere. Because when you start to serve, you start to put your hands to what you're talking about, it becomes real. So I started dancing. That's all I really knew how to do, And so I was doing that. And then someone was like, "Hey, we're going to go do this in Mexico on a mission trip." I was like, "Oh, I've never done that before." And so I went 10 days, changed my life. And ultimately I decided to go back. There was an experience I had where I saw these kids. We were playing soccer with them. and they don't have anything. They live in like, it's like a garbage city.
What part of Mexico were you in?
There's Mazatlan on the outskirts.
Okay.
And there's a YWAM base there, incredible ministry, you know, support them. They're wonderful. And I remember these kids, like, you kicked a soccer ball into a sewage river. That's what their sewage is like. It's not like, in some parts of Mexico, it's not really a sewage system. It's just a river of like fecal matter. Soccer ball landed in it. I saw kids wading chest deep just to get the soccer ball.
Dang.
That had an impact on me. And then for the first time, my heart broke for a people group that I wasn't around a lot. I was like, oh, like, I care about this. And so a year later, I went back for, a month. I was supposed to be there for a month. And I remember I fundraised and my mom helped me to do that. My mom helped me fundraise. Because
I've heard part of this story. I don't want you to leave like details out. Like, you don't have to rush this. Like,
okay.
Like, the first time I heard this story, I was like impacted. So like, people will want to hear this.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, well, I decided I wanted to go on a mission trip. But this time for a month. So like my senior year, the whole year I spent fundraising. When I say I spent it fundraising, like my mom did the bulk of it. Cause like I'm this 16, 17-year-old punk. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just so busy. I'm busy being a senior in high school. And my mom wanted me to be busy being a senior in high school. So like, what does that mean? Like cross country meets. I was the captain of the cross country team, high jump, track and field, you know, Bible study, like all the stuff that I was committed to, kids ministry. And then my mom took on the bulk of the fundraising. So she made the scarves and she baked the cookies.
Scarves?
Scarves.
I've never seen that before.
And she knit scarves. She knit little hats, you know, she'd crochet.
That's so cute.
And she would sell them at her job. And she would talk to her coworkers about me. She worked at Michael's Arts and Crafts. She was the framing manager. So like any Michael's Arts and Crafts, that's what my mom smells like. And I remember she fundraised for me. She would call relatives. She would write letters, you know, and all the while I'm just this kid in high school. It's like, I have a real conviction in my heart though. Because I remember I told my mom, like every time I have a fun idea, I would tell my mom, Mom, I'm going to be a photographer. Mom, I'm going to be a writer. Mom, I'm going to be an architect. Mom, I'm going to do this. She's like, okay, honey. But when I told her this, it was different. I was like, Mom, I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to be a missionary. She said, okay, I'm with you. And so she did. She fundraised. And I remember it was my senior year. I graduated. And usually seniors in high school, they have like a grad party or they attend grad night. None of that for me. I graduated. 4 hours later, I'm driving to the airport because it's like a red eye to Mexico. Day one, I'm there. It's like prison ministry. Day two, kids ministry. Day three, we're at base and it's like almost lunchtime and we're about to leave to go do like some more prison ministry or I get a phone call and it was like one of those things like, you know, it wasn't ever part of the plan. I got a phone call and it was my sister and she was like, hey, like Mom is on her way to the hospital right now. And I said, oh, well, what? And she's like, yeah, you should call the hospital. I was like, okay, it'll be okay. And I could tell she was freaking out a little bit. So older brother, like it's going to be okay. So I call the hospital and I'm on hold for through 6 different people. Like, hi, my name's Tim. I think my mom she's there. She's admitted. I don't really know. I'm in Mexico right now. So it was also hard because I was in Mexico, you know, so there's kind of a large disconnect there when it came to all this. And long story short, I was on hold through 6 people. The 6th person, she sounded a lot nicer than the last 5 people. She's like, hi, Tim. I understand that you are on a mission trip. Can I talk to your leader? And I say, yes. So I hand the phone to my leader and I just see her face just like drop. And it's like not something you want to see, you know? And like, I was like, no, like that's wrong. That can't be happening. So my leader, she hung up the phone and she told me my mom passed away in the ambulance on the way to the hospital at 12:34. And they just spent half an hour trying to figure out how to tell me. And so like, no one ever trains you for that. you know? So like, I like literally, I thought I was dreaming. So I fell on my knees. I started pinching myself. It's like, this isn't real. This isn't real. I started like hitting myself. And then I started punching this tile floor at the YWAM base till my knuckles bled and like shaking. Like, what do you do? I just screamed, you know, and like there are pastors all around me praying over me in Spanish, you know, like my teammates are praying for me. Like, we don't really know what to do, you know? And so like, here's what all I know I have to do is I have to go home. So like 3 days into my month-long mission trip, I had to bail. I had to peace out because I had to go bury my mom. And in a second, I had to grow up. I was 17. I remember I got home, just tears the whole time, just tears, like never ending, you know. It's my mom. It's my mom. It's my mom. It's my whole world, you know. She single-handedly raised my sister and I. And here I am returning home and she's not there. I'm like, what do you do? So I remember I arrived home and the house was like, the front door was busted in. So we couldn't stay there. Me and my 13 cousins couldn't stay. And I didn't know what to do. So I called my church. Like, okay, so a family, they're on vacation. They said that you can use their house. So we showed up. I don't even know these people. They let me and my whole family stay in their house.
Wow.
And then my mom's small group, they showed up and they filled the fridge with food. That's the church. And I remember it came to it, like, you know, we buried my mom, we came home, and I wanted to be alone. I did not want anything to do with the church. I was kind of just done talking to Jesus. I wasn't like done with Jesus. I was just like, just give me just like 2 seconds. I just need some time away from you right now. You know, because I didn't know. I didn't know about the healing. I didn't know about the restoration. All I knew was pain. That's all I knew. I was so young, 17.
She's so young.
You know? And I remember I got tricked. I got tricked to go to this summer apprenticeship thing at my church.
You got tricked?
I got tricked. You know, my buddy, his name's Carson. He was like, hey, picking you up for pizza or something, or sushi. I forget. And I was like, okay. So he picked me up. Yeah, we got pizza or sushi or whatever. And then he brought me to this summer apprenticeship thing. It's like young adults in my church that would get poured into over the summer and they'd serve. And they'd get like a taste of what it's like to be on staff at the church. I didn't want to do that. I want to run away. That's why I was done, you know? And so I showed up, but then I showed up and there was this class and they all know, my whole church knows what happens. Because like, you know, on Sunday they prayed for me and they prayed for the team. They know the team's gone and they know that my mom died. They know all this stuff. So they know me. In a second, I became a celebrity. I hated it. I didn't want people to know me because of my mom passing, but I was known for that. You know, I was known for my pain. And I was like, so I shut up, but there was this woman there. I remind you, like my idea for my life at the time was to be a photographer in Seattle. Like I had toured schools twice. She anointed my head with oil that day. And she said, you're a pastor.
Wow.
Changed. I was like, I'm not going to be a photographer. I need to be a pastor, you know? And I was like, I don't know, but I was still kind of like torn. I ended up at a summer camp a few months later. And my pastor was like, hey, you should come and share your story. Can you help me preach the message? And I was like, my whole story? This is 10 minutes before he's supposed to go on stage, the Thursday night. So if you ever been a part of church camp, like Thursday night is like, it's the yes to Jesus night. You know, it's like the come home night. And he wants me to go on stage with him. I don't even know how this situation's good. How does that make sense? You were still like... I was 17. It was 2 months past. I was still shell-shocked.
You weren't even healed.
No. I was in it.
Okay, that's kind of crazy. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's just kind of crazy. Like, no judgment towards this guy, but like, it's like, you're not even testifying at that point. You're just...
I'm in it.
Yeah.
And so, but here's the thing. I walked on stage. He handed me a microphone. I walked on stage. And I don't even remember what I said, but it was just like, I don't know how this is good, guys, but I just know God's good.
Wow, Tim.
I was 17. I don't know how to speak publicly. I don't know how to preach. I don't know how to like gain inspiration, like give people inspiration. I don't know how to do any of that. And so I just said that the next morning, and this is where it gets crazy. A friend of mine, her small group, like middle school girls, they all ran up to me, like 11 or 12 of them. They said, hey, thanks for sharing yesterday. And I was like, yeah, you know, she's like, no. Like we all said yes to Jesus after what you said. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, we're all getting baptized today. And I was like, So I come to find out those girls lost a friend to a car crash that year. They're in it. And so was I. And so this pain gave me a platform to give hope to people. Real hope. And now their eternities are changed forever. And their families are changed forever. Straight up. It wasn't part of the plan.
Dang.
You know?
Because I wasn't even looking at it like that. I was like, dang, this man just put you up on the stage?
Yeah.
Dang,
That's what
I
was looking. Look what happened. And so that moment, I was like, I'm a pastor. I don't care if I have the job title or not. I'm a pastor. And so, yeah. So that's the story up until that point. You know, and that's kind of just a little bit of who I am. You know, like there's so much more. You know, I mean, God's worked in so many crazy ways. You know, but I could talk for hours. You know, but I don't want to take up all the time. I know we only have
no, Tim. I mean, we have no plan, so this is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy. You know, I mean, like a year after that, I got married.
You
got married.
18, 19?
I was 18 when I got married.
Wow.
And it
was
wasn't
that?
bad. It was like, we were just young, dumb in love, you know, just like young, dumb in love, two sold out Christians. We like loved each other. Our church was behind it. It was wonderful. We did an internship at our church together. This is the same girl, mind you, we met when I was 15.
Okay.
And she was with me through all of this. It wasn't a bad thing. It was like, she was there with me. She endured with me. And, you know, so we got married, fell in love, got married. And it was great. You know, we went to college, we got our degrees. She got her dream job in the government. I'm not really allowed to talk about it, but she got her dream job. I got my dream job at the church, you know, got my master. We both got our master's degrees. We bought a house. I was a youth pastor. And then one day, almost 7 years later, she came up to me and she was like, hey, I don't want to be married anymore. And I was like, oh, what? And mind you, like we've been together for like almost 11 years, married almost 7 years.
Wow.
And it was, don't get me wrong, it was like 6 beautiful years of marriage. But we were just one tick off over a long period of time. You know, and I want you to hear my heart. Like I'll never badmouth her. Yeah. She's an incredible person. She's since found somebody else. Like she's married, like living happy life, you know, like, but for me to get to the place that I am with it took a long time. Yeah. It took a long time. It took a lot of healing, you know? So, and her reason was like, I just don't want to be with you. And for me, it wasn't a good enough reason, you know, it wasn't a good enough reason. It wasn't a good enough reason, you know? And so like, I wanted to do counseling, you know, and I told you, like, you know, you have to tell your church staff. Mm-hmm. Well, have you heard of a youth pastor who gets divorced, gets to keep his job? Not me, you know? And so like, I was scared for my job. I was just scared. It was just a season of fear for me. And my church, that same church I was there when my mom passed away, they're here with me now when my wife is leaving me. I said, hey, like, what do you need from us? We'll pay for counseling. And I was like, you guys are the best. They're my family, you know? And so I told her, I was like, hey, they said they'll pay for it, you know? And she said, let me think about it, 2 weeks. And so I went back to them and said, hey, they gave me, she wants 2 weeks to think about it. And they said, what are you going to do for 2 weeks? And I said, I don't know, just work, I guess. And they laughed at me. They laughed right in my face.
Just work.
And they were like, no, no. No, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on a road trip for 2 weeks.
Wait, and what?
My church staff sent me on a road trip. My bosses, the lead pastor, the administrative pastor, my direct report, the guy who oversees all the youth pastors, and our spiritual Yoda we call him our spiritual Yoda. His name's Justin. And there's also one named Dan, but like they all said, hey, like you're going on a road trip and you have 2 jobs, reconnect with Jesus and have fun. And those were my 2 jobs. That was my assignment. For me, it was very weird.
Why?
When you work in church or when you work anywhere on a team, like, especially in the West, in America, it's like, okay, we have to get this task done. We have to make sure this event is great. We have to make sure we get the right people there. Hey, have you followed up with your leaders? Have you done this? Have you done that? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, that's all part of executing a good event and making sure that people see Jesus. You know, that's great. And it was the hustle and the bustle. And my job for a split second was separated from the hustle and the bustle. And I was it's like deer in the headlights. I was so awkward with it. I was like, okay, so I'm going to go now. And they're like, okay, go. And I was like, I'm going to go pack. I won't see you for 2 weeks. I won't be here on Tuesday's meeting. Like, get out of here. And so I went. And like, here's the thing. When you go to college, all of a sudden you have friends everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just stayed with friends along the way. And like, I want to make another very long story short. On this trip, I met God on top of a mountain in Utah. I just did this crazy hike. It's just like, what do you do in Utah? You just go on hikes. And this is after a moment where like I was discouraged because of money, because my money ran out and I was ashamed to ask for help. That's another thing. Like, oh my gosh, I learned how to ask for help. I didn't know how to do that. Learned how to be vulnerable. Didn't know how to do so like this kind of a conversation before. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
And you're a natural though, like right now. Well,
I wasn't to start out, and Dang. So, but vulnerability is like such a beautiful thing, so, but anyways, I was scared because of money, and I remember, I couldn't afford to go to the parks because they're all national parks. They all cost money to get in, like $30. And I was like, I don't have that. It has to go to food. Otherwise I'll starve, like straight up. Like I need bread, and, but I'm in Utah, so I'm bummed that I can't go. I'm here. I'm bummed I can't go on this hike. I'm at this gas station pumping gas after a very good conversation with a pastor of mine. It's like, Tim, just ask. We got you. Ask for gas money. I'm like, okay. And this guy pulls up, totally got done it's like 1 p.m. Had just got done with the morning out with his kids. ATVs are covered in dirt. They're all covered in mud, the whole family. It goes in and gets snacks. And I said, hey, like, looks like you guys had fun. He's like, oh yeah, dude, we're all done. Here's my park pass. And I said, what? He's like, yeah, here you go. It's good for the rest of the day. I paid for the whole day. I was like,
just some random.
Thanks. Oh, also, here's a map. And I was like, so now here I am holding a park pass and a map. Here's the thing. I'm a nerd for maps. You need to like. Oh,
so then this
is like a very specific Jesus thing to me. Okay. I'm like, thank you, God. Like I was literally worried about this. And God just, here you go. And so I got in my car like a kid. And I was, so like you're driving to Disneyland or something. And so I remember I showed up and it's called the Sand Flats Recreation Area in Moab. And so I went and I showed up. Nobody's on the hikes because they're all doing the off-roading. I don't have a bike, so I just have feet. So I just go on the trail. So I'm just walking on the trail. And it was like the Lion King, like Pride Rock is what I was standing on. And I remember just sitting there. And I just heard God. He's like, I made this for you. This is for you. I want you to enjoy it. And he's like, I would never say that to myself. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, that is God. I would have never said that to myself. Like, what you want to know what I would have said? I would have said, Tim, you need to be more productive right now. You need to be trying to win that girl back. You need to try to, you have to, there's a lot of things that you have to do.
That's our timer.
Oh man. But yeah, I was like, I should be productive. I should be going after the girl. I should be doing everything in my power to should. Get rid of the shoulds. Get rid of the shoulds. Because it's going to weigh on you. It's like asking what if, but it's almost as if saying it's all on you when really you really don't have any control.
Dang.
Truly. And if God brought me here on top of this mountain, he wants me to enjoy it. That's my job. It's my job to enjoy it. And I think that mindset totally wrecks people, because they're trained to like, no, that's a waste of time. I should be doing other things that are, but here I am. And my job is to have fun and reconnect with Jesus. Yes, sir. And so I just go and I do it, and I remember I went to Phoenix. I spent time with my friends from college. And then I drove up the California coast. Mind you, I did all this alone. This whole road trip. Seattle to Montana, Idaho, Utah, Phoenix, up to California coast alone. Got back on Easter Sunday to a conversation in which she said, I don't want counseling. I just want a divorce. And here's the thing. It takes two to tango. I didn't stop fighting. I was like, hey, like, if you're going to do this, like you're going to do this, I'm not going to have any part of it. I'm not going to be proactive about it and go to the courthouse. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that. but I'm not gonna what's the word? I'm not gonna like clench on like this if you're wanting to go. It's your choice whether you stay or not. And that was hard for me. And I remember I was home and I didn't know what to do. But here's the thing, my pastors are like, okay, great. Well, this week, here's everything you missed. Here's the schedule, you know, like we got your back. Let us know if you need anything. I was like, wait, that's it? I get to keep my job? They're like, yeah, we love you. Of course you get to keep your job. What? And I was like, I was so worried for what? For
why? What were you expecting? Were you expecting them to just fire you?
Yeah, I was expecting them to be like, well, okay. Unfortunately, this doesn't align with that. That's kind of what I was expecting, a very professional, you're fired type of deal. But that's not what I got. We got your back, man. Let us know what you need. Yeah. That's what I got. And I said, okay, like, you should probably take me off the speaking schedule. Cause I was preaching like, every 2 or 3 weeks I was on the schedule. I said, take me off the schedule. And they said, yeah, that's probably good. And they said, hey, Tim is still very much on the team. He just has a broken leg. So we're going to support him. And I was like, I felt so loved because I was loved. Wow. But then 2 months in, they're like, okay, Tim, this is getting weird. When are you going to preach again? And I was like, I'm in. And so I jumped back into ministry, and it was the best the best summer of ministry we had in a long time. It was right after COVID, so everyone was excited. We had almost 60 baptisms. Wow. I remember the number 59. It was almost 60. I was like, come on, one more. I remember running the crowd. I was like, come on, you need to get baptized. It was 59 baptisms. And I remember during all of this chaos, a mentor of mine, he said, hey, Tim, this might be unfair to ask, but what do you want? What do you want? And like my dream was to continue working at the church, was again, not a bad dream. And I'd worked my whole life to get a job and work at the church and ministry. That was my whole dream. That was my life. And my mentor was like, hey, Tim, like fast forward 10 years from now, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know, like maybe I'm a campus lead. And he's like, really? That's it? You're going to lead campus? That's all you're going to do?
Oh, that's bold. And I like him.
So he just says stuff. I don't even know if he's allowed to say it, because like, but for me, that's like, yeah, like that's a great thing. Like I want to do that. It's not a bad thing to do that. And he was like, no, but for you, is that really all you want to do? Just ask yourself again, like, what do you want? And then he said these questions to me. He said, Tim, at some point you started living a safe life. When? Why? And I was like, whoa, I don't know. And he's like, Tim, when I first met you, you were the skater punk. Where'd he go? And I was like, so I thought about it really hard. And I had an answer for him. When I started pursuing a safe life when my mom passed away. A year later, I got married. And then we went to college. And then I bought a house. And then I started crafting this life for myself, which again, not a bad thing. But I started to pursue safety because I wasn't safe when my mom passed away. I didn't feel safe. Yeah. So I pursued it. It became an idol to me. Safety. And he said, what did you do before? I said, what did I do before my mom passed away? I was a missionary. So like literally like, when you just like, you get it. Yeah. You understand, like, you're calling, you just, it all just hits you right away. I'm like, whoa, I have to go. So my idea at the time was I need to go back to Mexico as soon as I can. And I have to complete a mission trip there because God's going to redeem that. And then all of a sudden I just started hearing the word redeemer in my head. Just let me redeem it. I'm going to redeem it. I'm going to redeem it. And I was like, I want you to redeem this and this and this and this. But here's the thing. When you want God to redeem something, you have to face it. Mm-hmm. There's no more running from it. There's no more sidestepping or going around it or avoiding it. You go through it. And I was like, okay, but here's the thing, Mexico is still closed. It was still COVID kind of. So I told this to my best friend, Christian. He lives in Hawaii. And he was like, his wife, Haley, she said, hey, like you should come do Surfing the Nations. Cause she worked at Surface. Oh, I'm wearing the hoodie. She worked at Surface Coffee.
Wait, can someone get a zoom in on this?
Shout out Surface Coffee.
Sorry, Asher. Asher, can
if
you
you're ever on, okay, we're plugging. Okay. If you're ever on the island of Oahu, check out Surface Coffee. Best coffee on island. It's ran by missionaries.
Check them out.
Nobody gets a paycheck. It all goes back to missions.
Oh, seriously?
Straight up. Well, it goes to, keep the lights on for all of us, so it goes back to missions,
Wow.
So check it out. They're great. Super vibey. If you want to go to the North Shore, you have to pass Surface Coffee. I feel like I'd be good at those. What's up, everybody? My name's Tim. It's time for Surface Coffee. I don't know, but she said she worked at Surface Coffee, and she said, hey, you should come do Surfing the Nations. I was like, what's that? She told me, it's like, yeah, they're a missions group. Okay.
Wait, Tim. Can everyone just take a second right here? Asher, you're so cool. Like, guys, at the beginning of the episode, I missed my chance to say this because we jumped right in, which it's been great. But like, y'all, Asher, get in the camera. You just gotta, this is our lovely friend Asher. He's the best camera guy ever. And he's not just a camera guy, he's a creator, he's a creative. He's amazing. So everyone clap for Asher, because if not, you wouldn't have the visual elements that we have. Literally, it would be bad. As you've seen the episodes I do by myself, it's not this. Okay. Go ahead, Tim.
Asher, you're amazing. But yeah, she said, do Surfing the Nations. And I was like, okay. So I applied. But here's what that meant. That meant leaving.
Seattle.
It meant leaving Seattle. My bubble. My safe place. I grew up here. My mom brought me here. My church is here. The church that supported me when my mom passed away. The church that's now supporting me when my ex left. Like, they're supporting me through all of this. How could I? And like students that I've pastored since they were in third grade, they're now about to graduate high school. How could I? And for me, that was probably one of the hardest things I've done but here's the thing, like I had three college students that were part of the program, part of the college program at my church. We partner with Northwest University, and they were kind of just on the youth team part-time. And when I left, they all got full-time. Wow. So they kind of replaced me, but it was a beautiful 6-month transition. And my goal when I transitioned was that when they said from stage, hey, Tim's going to Hawaii to be a missionary, that nobody would be surprised, that everybody would be like, oh yeah, we know. Nobody in the crowd would be like, oh, what? No. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want that. I don't want people's faith to rest on like whether or not, like people's faith or people's participation at youth group to rest whether or not I'm the pastor. I don't want that. I don't want the celebrity pastor lifestyle. I don't want any of that to be synonymous with Tim. And so all I did was I just empowered my friends to do the thing, and they did. And they honestly have done it better than me. I've been gone for like 2 years, and they've been crushing it.
It's kind of giving David and his men.
Oh yeah.
The mighty men, his mighty men.
The mighty men.
Yeah, it's like, it's crazy because Saul would tear people down, and nobody that was under Saul, their names weren't recorded.
Yeah.
Because he never let them reach their full potential.
He was their lid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But David, all of David's men were recorded, and their works, their acts, like the things that God did through them were recorded because he let them bloom.
And that's healthy leadership.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's how I could do a whole nother talk about leading like that. That was a whole teaching we did at Surfing the Nations. But so I did that. I said yes to Surfing the Nations, and I started fundraising, and it was wild. I started selling things. All of a sudden, all my material possessions didn't matter anymore.
Wow.
I was like, I could get $100 for this. It was like a designer hoodie or like a pair of like Yeezys.
Supreme.
Believe it or not, I was a sneakerhead before.
No.
Sure, there was a whole season of my life where I loved sneakers, StockX. Not that stuff's bad.
But that's not your vibe.
But it's not the vibe anymore because I'm too busy. I'm too busy going to these places and telling people about Jesus. Like I'm too busy like surfing, and like when I'm in the lineup, there's another surfer. I'm going to tell them about Jesus. that's what I'm about now. I'm not really about the whole, anyways, that's another conversation. But I did it, and I went and did this thing called the internship. The first 3 days I wanted to leave. 3 days in, and mind you, this is after like my church celebrated me, launched me, you know, it was a great transition. I wanted to leave.
Why?
Well, I was a little vulnerable, just a little vulnerable to people in a room. They said like, hey, like, how's everybody doing? Like, good. I was like, oh, for me, it's hard. I miss home. Oh, good. And I felt totally overlooked. And I felt like totally like, oh, like I'm not known here like I am at home. And for the first time, it hit me. It's a new place. These guys don't know me. And I remember I called my friend. I was like, dude, I want to go home. Like, I don't know. Like, and I also like, you know, you see the Instagram stories of like all your students at home and like, we miss you. And I'm like, I miss you guys too. You know, like, did I make a mistake? And my friend said, Tim, no, you gotta stay, dude. This is the best thing for you, man. He made this analogy, like sometimes when a plant is dying, it's because it's like the soil around it isn't conducive to its growth anymore. So it has to get uprooted so that it can like be moved somewhere else to soil that's more suitable to it. And also so the plants that are there can have room to breathe and grow. And so he was like, dude, you gotta uproot it, dude. And you gotta stay, see it through. And I was like, okay, I made a commitment, 3 months. I could do it. And by the end of the 3 months, I didn't want to leave. Wow. I started adventuring. And I didn't know that I cared about adventure. Because I went to Hawaii in search of healing. You know, and I remember we did a 10-day outreach to Kauai, different Hawaiian island. The rules were you're not allowed to bring your phones, and you're not allowed to know the schedule. We don't tell you the schedule. So truly just blind, trusting your leaders. And the exercise is to teach you how to trust God with your life. So we're like literally living day by day, moment by moment, not knowing what's going to happen next, with no phone. And they told us to only bring $80 cash.
And in Hawaii?
In Hawaii.
That's kind of crazy.
It is kind of crazy. It is expensive out there. Our first day, it was like we were walking around town and we were hungry. We were like, everything here is $25. And we all brought $80 for 10 days. We were like, what? So I stumbled upon this spam sandwich. You know what spam is? Mm-hmm, yeah. So it's great. It's Hawaiian thing. It's delicious. I mean, a lot of people, I grew up with it. So she's selling spam breakfast sandwiches for $4. And I was like, oh, you know, I forget her name. I think it's Eileen. And I was telling her what I do. I was like, yeah, I work with Surf for the Nations. It's a nonprofit, humanitarian. You know, we're actually a Christian group too. Like, we love Jesus. She's like, oh, that's awesome. Well, here's your sandwich. So I tried to hand her the $4 and she said no. And I was like, Eileen. And she was like, Eileen. No. Let me bless you. And I was like, okay. And again, remember what I said before. That's uncomfortable to me. Let me bless you. I said, thank you. So I said, thank you. And went away and I was like, I don't deserve a sandwich. It was a gift. Wow. You know, and I was like, I just ate the sandwich. I was like, thank you, God, you know, and so.
But that's so crazy because it's not about you deserving the sandwich.
No, it's not.
Blessings don't require like.
Well, I didn't know that yet.
That's so wild.
So, and then the place where we got to stay, it's called the Machina. Look it up. It's in Kauai. They do kids ministry. They do these free kids camps. They're awesome. And it's another plug. Machina. They're great. I love them. Their venue changed my life. It's just like, we thought we were going to be camping the whole time, you know, like in the sticks, you know, like mud huts, you know, but we show up to this brilliant, like almost mansion-esque property with this like 83 acres of farmland, and go explore, have fun. Makana. My mom used to call my sister and I her Makana babes. I didn't know what that meant. You want to know what Makana means?
What is it?
Gift.
Wow.
Makana means gift from heaven. It's a gift. And so I'm like, this is weird. Now it's starting to get weird because first this lady's like, spam sandwich for free. It's a gift. Let me bless you. The place we're staying at, it's called the Makana. Means gift from heaven. It's something my mom used to call us. Fast forward, we're doing food distribution. And this is where the story gets like, you can't make this crap up. Okay. Like we're doing food distribution. And remember I had a bad day the day before. And I was like missing, I was missing my mom, and people like, here's the thing, when you grieve, sometimes, a lot of the time, you don't want to like let people know that you're grieving because it can seem embarrassing. Like it's almost as if like when you cry, the first 2 words you have to say are, I'm sorry,
Wow.
And so it's like, I just didn't want people to know. And so when people asked me, are you okay? I just said allergies, and they believed me. Found out later it was a lie. So I confessed to my team, like, hey guys, I was having a bad time and I didn't trust you. I'm sorry. And so I'm with the intern director now, and he's scolding me. He's a good friend of mine. His name's Hugo. He's like, Tim, you need to let people help you, and you need to be vulnerable, and you need to be open. And then if you keep holding back, like the healing's going to be so hard if you keep holding back. And because he loves me. So he's giving it to me straight. He's not dancing around anything. And so I'm like sitting there taking it, like, you're right. This guy comes up to us and he's like, hey, I need 2 people to help me go get chicken for this event. And we're like, okay, that's us, so we get in the car and we're driving Toyota Tacoma. I'm in the back, and this guy moves his mirror. He's like, I think there's a reason you boys are in my car. And this is like, I'm like, yeah, man, like whatever to get. I didn't say this. I'm like, yeah, dude, just we're here to get chicken, like, And then he's like, what's your story? And so I told him everything I just told you. I told him, and he moves the mirror to see me. And you have to imagine everything that I'm going through right now, like the weight of like, okay, like, yeah, I'm still dealing with my mom. She like, that's however many years ago. So I was 17, I'm 24, 25. I'm 25 now. I'm still dealing with that. Still miss my mom. My wife just left. I'm in Hawaii. I don't have a paying job anymore. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm going through some crap in my head, and he looks at me and he's like, young man, I lost my brother this year. Like, so this year he lost his brother to, I forget, I think it was to an aneurysm, lost his brother. And then he's divorced. He's like, young man, I lost my brother. I was divorced, and my wife now, she's been divorced as well. And he said, you're going to be okay.
Did he know?
No, I just told him my story.
Okay.
And he said, you're going to be okay. And for the first time, I believed somebody. Because how many people told me, like when my mom died or when my wife left, you're going to be okay. How many people said that? So many people said that. I didn't believe any of them. Because how do they know? They didn't go through it. Here comes this man. Again, he has the platform of pain to tell me you're going to be okay, and the authority to do it. And I believed him because he has the authority to do that. And I was like, whoa. And then for the next hour and a half an hour there, half an hour at the place, half an hour back, he just lays into me. Like straight up, like he's a prophet. Holy Spirit to me. There's no filter. He's just saying stuff. And I'm just like receiving it. And my buddy, he's just in the front seat, all awkward, like, it's just like, it's so funny. And so he's like, you need to let people help you. You need to let people bless you. Your feet are exactly where they need to be, which is a phrase that I only heard in Washington. That phrase is so specific to me. He's just saying all these things. He's like, Tim, one day there's going to be people on the other side of your pain and on the other side of your obedience. They're going to hear your story. You're going to help set them free because of your obedience and because of you being vulnerable and sharing with them, just like how I'm doing to you right now. And I'm just like, whoa, And he said, what about this girl? You still talk to this girl? And I was like, no, I didn't even want to say her name. I was so mad. And he's like, have you prayed for her? I was like, no, I don't want to do that. He's like, that means you're bitter. And you, as a man, he said that to me. I just met this guy. I just met him.
Yeah,
I just met him like an hour ago.
It just be like.
And then he said, you as a man, you need to gush that out. And I was like, I didn't even know I was capable of bitterness. And here I am. I've been living in it for how long? And he's like, you need to pray for her by name for 2 weeks straight. Pray that she gets everything she's ever wanted. Genuinely do it. If you don't mean it, don't do it. And I didn't want to do it. And he's like, until you do that, you're still going to be bitter. It's still going to have a hold on you. And so I was like, okay. So like later I took his advice, and man, did wonders for me. So much healing. But at the end of this conversation, he said, hey, find me later in the parking lot. I was like, okay. So we do the event, we feed like so many hungry families. It's a great ministry. It's called Ohana Christian Fellowship. They do it every like Thanksgiving season. I find him later in the parking lot. I still don't know his name. I was like, I don't know your name. He's like, oh, I'm Scott from Wisconsin. And I was like, hey, Scott from Wisconsin. And he's like, hey, I wanted to give you this. I just felt like the Lord said you needed to have it more than I did. And he hands me like $400.
Wow.
And I was like, remember, I'm on an outreach trip to them. So I'm like, no, I cannot accept this. I'm here to help you. And he said, young man, what did we just talk about? Let me bless you. He said those words. So here we are. Okay. Spam sandwich. Let me bless you. Makanalani, gift from heaven. Let me bless you. And then even continuing later that day, we went to a movie theater for our free day. They rented out a movie theater for us and we watched my mom's favorite movie, Lilo and Stitch. And on the way back, there's this song. It's very popular. It's by this artist, late Hawaiian artist, Israel Kamikuio Ole. It's Somewhere Over the Rainbow. You know the song, ooh.
Sing.
It goes like, somewhere over the rainbow. Yeah. They played it on the car ride home. Just like thing after thing after thing. Just like God saying like, I have a gift. It's here. It's for you if you want it. You just let me bless you, please. And so here I am wrestling with this God who's desperately trying to bless me. And I'm saying no. Because I'm scared and I'm bitter and I have trauma and I have pain. And he's like, just let me take it. And I've been saying no this whole time. I'm like, no, I can't. Just like I did with the $400 and just like I did with the spam sandwich. And here's God teaching me desperately, just let me bless you, dude. And I'm just, so like literally I remember I was sitting in my quiet time one day and I was just like, okay. And then I wrestled with the question, now what? Because now the internship's coming to an end. I have to go home or stay. I don't know. I got a job offer. And the job offer was to be a traveling motivational speaker with a faith-based organization. It's great. Seems like the clear next. I have my master's degree in mental health and wellness with an emphasis in Christian ministry. That seems like the job for me. So I said yes to the job. I said no to staying and doing the next section of surfing. If you want to stay longer than 3 months, you do their leader training program. And it's this like very intense 3-month program where you allow them to give you feedback, like live feedback, like they go for your throat, you know. And you go on a global outreach for 5, like me. And I said no to that so I could do this instead. But I remember being so sad that I was leaving the island and sad that I was, more so than leaving the island, that I was leaving this crew of rowdy people that helped change my life. And so I remember I went home and I was on the last Zoom call. It was 3 interviews. The last interview was like, she was about to tell me where I'm going to live, how much money I'm going to make. She's like, Tim, like, what's wrong? And now I'm back in Seattle. She's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I want to do both things. And she said, okay, do both things. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, just do it. And this job will wait for you. Take as much time as you need. I cried. I was like on the call with her. I started tearing up. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, I just feel like you already made a decision in your heart and you're just looking for someone to give you permission. So let that person be me. The lady that was supposed to hire me is saying this. And I'm like in tears. And then she prayed over me and gave me this worship song called I Don't Want to Go by Chris Renzema. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Yeah, I have. It's called, the line goes like, I don't want to go unless you're going before me. Wrecked me. And then so I hung up the call and I'm like, so I call the director of the program. And I said, hey, like, is there still a spot for me? Because it's 2 weeks till the program starts in Hawaii. I'm back in Seattle like a dummy. And she's like, get your fees in. $5,000. God blitzed it in 2 weeks. How? I met these, like, I remember I went over the New Year. I went to a retreat and I told myself, I'm not going to fundraise on this retreat. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy showing up just to fundraise. I'm just going to enjoy it. I'm just going to trust that God will provide. So I go on the retreat and, people ask, what do you do? So I tell them, and that's it. I don't ask, which I've learned just to ask. Don't say no for people, It's okay. Like if you're a missionary and you're doing something for the Lord, you deserve to be funded, and don't let people say no for you. That's another conversation. But at the time I was like, I got $1,000 from one guy. I got 500 from another girl, like straight up, like money's just starting to come in. My Venmo is blowing up. And then from an old friend of mine who doesn't even follow Jesus, he gave me $1,000. You know, like straight up, like just like stuff's coming in. It's just the money's coming in. God's using people that don't even follow him to bless me and get me there. And I got there and I did this program and it changed my life forever. And I learned how to be vulnerable with people. And I learned how adventuring with God is straight up, it's healing for you. I read this book. It's called Wild at Heart. By John Eldredge.
Okay.
And I'll talk about this book until the day I die. It changed my life. And in the book, it talks about the true heart of like a man, like everything that God has called a man to be, which is a lot more than getting a job and buying a house and doing like the American dream. It's about being vulnerable. It's about doing like going on adventures with God and having intentional time of healing with him.
We good? Okay.
Good. Cool. And having intentional time of healing with him. And I remember like there's this line I read. It says, healing is a deep and intimate process that God intends on doing with you personally. And I did that. And I said yes. I said yes to the adventure. I started fundraising for all these trips. Usually at STN, that's Surfing the Nations. Every time I say STN, that's what it means. Usually at STN, you might go on 1 or 2 outreaches a year. I think I went on, so Turkey and Bulgaria was one.
Whoa. Costa
Rica, Nicaragua is another one. I led this one. Senegal, France, Spain. We went to Kauai again with kids. I went to Huntington Beach with some dear friends of mine. And then the Middle East. I went on 6 in 1 year.
Wow.
I didn't do that. I didn't have that money. God said go, and I said yes.
Wow, too.
You know, and so like when God calls you to do something, just be like Moses, dude. Just give him your yes. It said Moses. Exodus 3. Moses. He says, here I am. That phrase, here I am, in the original Aramaic, Hebrew, it's here I am. It's this one word. It's heneni. And what it means is whatever you're about to say, I'm already in agreement with. You already have my yes. That's what that means. And so, and then, you know how the story goes. Moses is like, here I am. God's like, hey, like I've seen the oppression of my people in Egypt. And I'm sending you, Moses. And Moses is like, me? And he starts making all these excuses about why he can't do it. It's like, you don't want me to do it. I can't even, I'm a bad public speaker. I don't know. What would I say? It's like, so Moses asks what? God says who? Tell him I am who I am. It's like, who do I even say? Who do I even say sent me? It's like, I am who I am. The I am sent you. And so here I am, and I'm in Hawaii, and I'm just like, I'm based there. I spend most of my time off island. It's funny when you say that you were a missionary in Hawaii, people are like, oh, it must have been so hard. It's like a fun joke. Well, here's the thing. Like, people don't understand, like, Hawaii is more than just Waikiki, like the very touristy city. We lived in Wahiawa. You know what Wahiawa is? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's come a long way, but it used to be the most dangerous town in Hawaii. Straight up.
Wow.
The street that we live on, it's called Ojai Street. They call it Blood Alley because it rains a lot in Wahiawa. Blood would literally flow in the street from gang fights and beatings, and there's prostitution, there's sex trafficking.
Wow.
Like the property that Surfing the Nation sits on, the coffee bar used to be a bar, the church used to be a porn shop, the skate shop used to be a strip club, our offices used to be a brothel, the house that we do our vintage shop out of used to be a crack house. All of it redeemed.
I was literally about to say that. Redeemed. Whoa.
So, and one thing that I learned at Surfing the Nations is that God demonstrates in the physical what he's doing in the spiritual. And so like, if you just look at the property, and it's just like people's obedience, and it's nothing special. It's like, and here's the thing, like the people, like we're not that cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, you are.
Like, okay,
you guys are.
Thank
pretty.
you. But like, but as far as like in the grand scheme of like, we're vapors, you know, and like, and we don't have fancy words and we don't have a lot of money. We just have obedience and we have crazy faith. And that's what God uses. And so I found myself just saying yes to every adventure that came up. I just said like, well, God, whatever outreach it is, I'm going on every single one. And so in my time there, I went on every single outreach that I could. Not because I wanted to prove something, but because I just knew that God had to do a great work in me. And so I had to trust him in a great way. You know, and so, and the thing about trust is like, it's so hard. It's so hard. It doesn't make sense. You know, I remember even before like going to STN full time, I was like, God, what do you want me to do? Just tell me and I'll do it. I'll do whatever you say. Just give me a sign, reveal it to me, and I'm in. Whatever you say, yes, I'm ready. Just tell me what to do. And he never gave me an answer. There was never I think that's the problem today with people and callings and what should I do? I don't know what to do. You won't. Sometimes God won't tell you what to do. He'll just say, trust me. And you're like, that's great. I do, but just tell me what to do. You know, but that defeats the purpose of you walking and talking with him and trusting him.
He tells you as you go.
As you go. There's this verse in Isaiah. I forget. I'm going to butcher it, but it's like, whether you look to the left or to the right, whether you go to the left or to the right, you'll hear a voice behind you saying, this is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, I don't know whether to go left or right. And I remember I was skating back in Hawaii. 7-Elevens are bougie. They're great. People hate on me. People at Surfing the Nations hate on me for this. But in Hawaii, 7-Elevens, like there's these like bento boxes. They're like $5.
Stop it! Come on, I'm so hungry,
dude. Sorry, but like straight up, there's these bento boxes, and they're so good. They have sushi, and they have spam musubi, and they have like chicken katsu, and like all types of food. I'm skating back. I have like a little brown bag full of like my 7-Eleven snacks. I'm ready to grub before church. I'm so ravished from the day. It's like we worked hard, you know. And I remember I was skating back and I'm wrestling with this question. And I see one of our houseless friends on the side of the road. And his name's Uncle Mike. And so I pull over. I'm on my longboard. So I pull over. Like, hey, Uncle Mike, what's up? You know, and I'm just like, how? And so he's just having a hard time. He feels like a lot of people don't like him, which isn't true. It's just the enemy. So, but, you know, so I just sit with, I don't really know what to do. So I just sit with him. I'm sitting with him and I just hear God. I'm like, God, do I do this? Do I go this way or do I go this way? And all I heard him say was, be a good friend. Just be a good friend. So fast forward, I'm like, this is a few months later. I'm on the big island of Hawaii now. I'm on a different outreach, and we're learning how to do first aid wilderness like we're doing first aid wilderness certification and CPR training. That's what we're doing. Random. And I remember we were doing this. Random. They call it abiding time. It's the same thing as quiet time, but it's like a little more intentional. It's like the whole atmosphere is set up. So there's like worship songs playing, and we're journaling. And I remember it was like, you know, when you're in a quiet time, you don't want it to end. Remember the quiet time was coming to an end. And I remember thinking to myself, Lord, please, I want to spend more time with you. I don't want this to end. This is too good. Because I was like, you know, when you start just writing, God's talking to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good. The guy goes up. He's like, hey, I just feel like we're not supposed to end. So we're just going to keep going. Like, Tim's mouth just dropped. I'm like, what are you talking about? And so like he just goes up and he's like, and then he starts singing this song that goes, take a moment to remember who God is and who I am.
There you go, lifting my load again.
There you go, lifting my load again. And I'm like,
I love that song.
I'm just here, just like in tears, like. And so I look down at the book I'm reading, Wild at Heart, and it's like all about how God gives Peter a new name. You know, and and I'm about to flash back to another instance I had. It was like 2 months after my wife left. I'm at this conference with my best friend. He's like, dude, just come with me to this conference. And there's this pastor, his name's Jeremy Johnson from Fearless LA, radical preacher. And he's on stage. And I remember I'm feeling totally abandoned in the crowd. I'm in the front row. I brought some students up to sit with me. They're from Italy. They don't even speak English, but I'm sitting with them. I'm their guy, apparently. I'm sitting there, and this guy, he gets off the stage. He starts going up to people, and he's going to tell them like the new name that they have. He walks up to me first. There's probably a recording of this somewhere. He walks up to me. He's like, "Your name is no longer abandoned." Walks up to someone else. Says something else. And I'm just sitting there
and you're
like,
just like, oh.
Who told this guy my stuff? Yeah, you know what I mean?
You're just standing there.
I was like, you know, and so like fast forward to now, here I am. We're in the abiding time that just got extended. I'm reading. And Jesus is like, I no longer call you slaves. I call you friends. And I remember that moment where it clicks? It clicked again.
Wow.
And I was like, this is my job. To be a good friend.
Wow.
That's it. She's like, you're my friend. Because I don't abide in my slaves. Like, I now call you friends.
Yeah.
So I've been living as if I was captive. When really God's like, hey, just like come walk with me and be my friend and work with me and watch how I do it. You know, and like, I was like, whoa. And things shifted for me.
It's like masters don't talk to their slaves.
They don't abide in them. No, they don't. It was abiding time.
They talk to their friends. They abide with their friends.
Just hung out. You that friend that you have, you don't even have to do anything. You just sit in the car with them for hours and you guys have the time of your life.
Yeah.
Like that kind of a friend.
Tim, I want to wrap it up with this. The song that you just gave, take a moment to remember. Guys, I want y'all to like listen to this. Take a moment to remember who God is and who I am. There you go. Lifting my load again. Tim, what does your hat mean? Because that literally is exact. I think it ties in so perfectly.
Yeah.
But go ahead. What does your hat mean?
So I got this hat in France. It's a whole story. But it was the first outreach trip I ever led to Senegal, West Africa. And so many things went wrong. But then at the last minute, things would just go right. You know? And so like what the hat means is it's Latin. It says Deus ex machina.
Can you come? Have you seen his hat? Asher, have you seen it? Do you know what it means?
It says Deus ex machina. It literally translates
Deus
to God of the machine. And it's a brand. It's like, are they all about motorcycles and surf and like lifestyle, like photography, and like that's what they love. But when I saw this hat, it was like, it's a whole story how I got it. But when I saw this hat, I was like, that's the gospel. So in literature, in like screenwriting, a Deus ex machina is like when at the last second, when the good guys get saved, right? So it's like the main character is like they're about to die, or like, have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz? Mm-hmm. At the very end, when Dorothy's cornered by the Wicked Witch, and all of her like monkey demon things, and like they're literally about to die, and Dorothy accidentally spills water on her. That's a Deus ex machina. And it was like literally like in Roman culture, like they would have the hero or the Greek god hanging from like a pulley system. He'd come in, save the day. So that's the machine. So it's like the god of the machine. And so a lot of people in screenwriting and in literature, they don't like it because they're like, no, like the main characters has to be a part of the story. They don't think it's good writing. They're like, it's poor writing to just have some being entity come in and save everybody. But my story, that's my story. I love it. I love it. It's an act of God, you know? And so like, did I plan to like lose my mom? Did I plan for this woman to leave? Did I plan to like step away from like probably like being set for life in Seattle? Like, did I plan all? No, I didn't plan it. But like truly, like every time I needed God, he showed up for me in a miraculous, specific way. Every time. And so when it comes to fear and doubt and worry, I have something to say about those things. And the word coincidence, one of my mentors in Hawaii, she says, I feel like coincidence and luck are words that the enemy made up to disregard the miracles of God in your life. And so I've gotten to the point in my life, Kim, where it's like, I just know that God's going to come through. And he's going to do a Deus ex Machina. He's going to do that, and like people can hate all they want, but at the end of the day, my God saved me, and my God healed me, and my God provided for me when I couldn't, and my God gave me a free Spam sandwich, and like he gave me very, very specific things that I needed. And he also blessed me with like things that I really did, that I wanted and that I didn't even know that I needed, because he knows my heart better than me. And so all that being said, story's not done yet. So now we're here, we're in Florida, and we're living out a life of crazy faith. We're going to New Zealand on outreach. So currently fundraising for that. It's gonna be crazy.
Guys.
What?
Also what Tim hasn't said, and this is just
I know what you're about to say.
First of all, this is just fantastic because like it's lit to like end on the hat thing. Like, dude, like first of all, I knew that it was something because like, I don't know, the Lord pulled me toward it so much. Mm-hmm. It's literally your life. It's our life. Literally when everything goes to trash. Like people might classify it as bad screenwriting, but it's what happens. We have no power to be like, everything's trash. Oh, and I can make it. Like, no, like we need him to literally, I don't want to say magically, for lack of better words, magically, boom, shows up. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's my new favorite phrase.
Isn't it great? And here's the cool thing. So like God, literally, he like redeemed every part of my life. I heard this phrase, God leaves no stone unturned. Mm-hmm. When I got back from Africa, I met a girl. Rachel. So yeah, I mean,
we got to get her on here.
She's literally amazing. And, so like I got back from Africa and I didn't think I'd be leaving Hawaii with a new love. I didn't think that would happen, and so like I came to the islands broken and in need of healing. And when I left, I had this calling that wasn't new calling. It was a calling that was dormant in me that had to be resparked and someone new to share it with. And so like God just has been blessing me in an amazing, immense way. And now like, we're here, we're kicking it at Greenhouse and like have an amazing community. I do truly like I have an amazing community here. Like God bless. I didn't do this. Someone was like, hey, do you want to sit with me? My friend David Mata. He's like, you want to sit with me?
David's
and like
the
literally
best.
got plugged into micro church. And now here we are. I have this whole community.
Because we got to remember who he is, man.
I didn't do that. God did that.
Yeah. We really got to remember who he is. Like he is who he says he is. Crazy.
Yeah.
So we did steer away from what we were going to say, but y'all, Tim has a book.
I have a book.
And it's called?
The book is called Saturday Morning Cartoons, Finding Hope in Every Episode of Life.
And I'm super excited to read it and like order it and stuff, when that paycheck comes in. But but I just wanted to put you guys on because I've heard some really great reviews and if you guys listened up until this point, which I know you have because Tim's stories are amazing, like this book is what you want to read if you want to learn more and just tell them like a brief synopsis real quick about the book.
When I wrote this book, it was in my senior year of college. So it was before everything with my ex went down. But it was my senior year of college and I got a call from an old friend that I used to like lead at youth with. It was one of my students. He had tried taking his own life. And I'm not going to name names, but like I just wasn't okay with it. He was like one of my mini-me's, it's like, you're not allowed to have favorites. But he was my favorite, and so like, and it just, I don't know, it impacted me in just this weird way. And I wasn't okay with that. Because on the outside, he looked great, but on the inside, he was struggling to the point where he didn't see a future. He had no hope. And that made me mad enough to start writing a book. It's like, I knew I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know what I wanted to write about. And, but here's the thing, God will reveal that to you. And he revealed it to me and I was mad. I was mad at death and I was mad at the enemy. And so I started typing like it was nobody's business, you know? And so I started writing, and the point of the book is that you can have hope no matter what. And it was written so that, like, I mean, even a middle schooler could read it, but it's written to anyone that's ever needed hope. And yeah, I mean, when I wrote the book, it took me 2 years to write the last chapter. So like, truly it's a time capsule. It's me in college writing to a generation that I just desperately want to have hope. But I reread it a few years later, and I was like, this is hitting me right now where I'm at as a missionary in Hawaii. You know, and I was like, okay, I have to finish this thing. So I finished it. And so I'm just excited. I want to get it in the hands of as many people as possible.
Yeah.
You know, so it's going to be live this week. All of the proceeds are going to go towards funding my mission trip to New Zealand. I heard a statistic, I may be wrong, but I heard a statistic recently, over 50% of New Zealand, they don't follow God.
Wow.
You know, and so I'm like, wow, I'm not okay with that. You know, so I have a message. We all have a message to preach, and I'm just trying to be obedient and do that. But that's the book. That's what it's about. My high school students, before I left Washington, they are the ones that actually helped me name it.
And it's a great name.
I had all these ideas for names, and they're like, we ended up on the Finding Hope in Every Episode of Life name.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it, Tim.
So yeah.
Okay, y'all. So I'm going to link all that stuff in the description. So if you guys want to like check out Tim's book and help him and, you know, get that gospel in New Zealand, like you guys can do that. So I love that we have a platform where you can do this. Like we can hook people up with stuff like this. Like I've never done this before. This is so awesome. So Tim is the first one who's getting his stuff plugged in here.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this is, it's legendary. Okay. So yeah, go support, go check that out. And yeah, guys, this was, a little bit different of an episode, but I had a feeling that this is what God wanted to do.
Yeah.
Season 1 was very much so discussions and back and forth and God even giving words, but I don't know if this is just for this episode or if season 2 is going to be more like this, but I'm just feeling that like God wants to share stories, like people's stories, not just discussions, but the way he's speaking now is like testimonies. He wants like, you know, people to share like what he's done in our lives. So this was an honor to be able to do this with you and just listen. Like I was like, I'm so happy that I'm not talking, because it's just this was God. This was Holy Spirit. So thank you, Lord, so much for this. And guys, I've missed you so much. I'm going to have to do like a coming back episode where I give all the updates, or I'll just put them on Instagram or something. But we're out of time for now. This was awesome.
It was awesome.
How was your first podcast?
This was my first podcast. I'm not going to lie. I was telling Kim and Asher, I was like, y'all, I'm so nervous. So I've never done it, but it was a lot of fun. Wow. It was a lot of fun. So thanks for having me.
Of course.
I'd love to come back again, maybe after New Zealand.
Yeah.
Just to come back, share like what happened, you know. So
you and Rachel should both come on.
Oh, that'd be
after
fun.
New Zealand. Yeah. That'd be really fun.
That'd be so cool.
We're setting, like, it's going to happen.
Okay, it's going to happen. Yeah. We're speaking it into existence.
And then you can like see, we can all see like what happened in New Zealand. It'll be before and after. What if it's the season finale?
That'd be cool.
Yo!
We're just thinking out loud here, y'all. That'd be cool.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Asher, come here. I want you to talk to everybody. No one's ever heard Asher's voice.
Yo, what's good, everybody?
That's my boy.
So Asher, last question. Tim, ask him a question.
Oh boy.
Oh, Asher, why do you listen? What has been the most impactful thing you've done these last 2 weeks? Either to you or that you've done.
Last 2 weeks?
Yeah, something that's happened to you, or maybe it's something that you've done.
Honestly,
on the spot.
Listening to this right now, like listening to you talk has like really inspired me a ton, like genuinely. So
stop.
Being able to sit here and like listen to this has really helped me. You talking to me the other day.
Okay.
They don't know about this, but we sat down and talked the other day for like 30 minutes, and listening to this has really like impacted me in a good way.
Asher's thinking about doing Surfing the Nations internship.
In what?
Possibly.
In what? In
Surfing the Nations in the summer or the fall.
Yeah,
if I was you, dude, I'd do the summer. In the summer, they go on an international trip. I've talked to my parents about it.
So
what they say?
They said we'll pray on it. So
okay, that's better than no.
That's better than no.
There's power in
they'll
prayer.
probably hear this, but
Oh, there's power in prayer. Y'all don't even understand. I'm gonna have to do another episode. But the Lord told me that I'm an intercessor now. I'm like, what? I've been praying so much, like for hours.
Come on.
Anyways. Asher's gonna do surfing for the nation. We're speaking it in Jesus' name.
let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, y'all. We love you. We love. Oh, how about we do a three-way, like a little
Boom. Nice.
All right, y'all. We love you, and thank you for listening to God Talks season premiere. And we'll see you soon. Or you'll see us. Well, we won't see you. Bye.
Essa tá no som, pra tocar no paredão. Isso aqui é som de crente pro alto, levanta a mão. Essa tá no som, pra tocar no paredão. Isso aqui é som de crente, não fica parado não.